Daytona International Speedway bills itself as the world center of racing. And while it is generally associated with NASCAR, it does have an international motorsports pedigree, having hosted the globally renowned 24 Hours of Daytona since 1966. And when you drive through the tunnels into the huge 180-acre infield and then turn around and look back at the gargantuan grandstand and the massive 31-degree banking, it does tend to bring on a sense of awe. And to actually drive on that banking, well, words from cool to insane seem to equally apply. And to quickly put the size of the facility into a bit more perspective, in creating that current grandstand, the architects and builders literally had to factor in the very curvature of the earth. Tonight we race on the Roval that is home to the 24 Hours. It's a relatively easy layout, but in the full Send Sim Spec Miatas, it will be a supreme test of the driver's ability to play a high-speed game of chess. It's all about drafting and knowing where to be, and more importantly, when. Welcome to round 6 of this third season of the 2023 Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Championship as we kick off the second half. Hi, folks. I'm Greg Creamer. Kyle Heyer has a conflict for tonight, but luckily we have Andrew Cardinale stepping in from the bullpen. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, thanks for having me, Greg. This is always a great opportunity to step behind the mic for Sim TV. Always appreciate it when Kyle calls my name, and especially for a place like the virtual world center of racing. There is no place quite like Daytona International Speedway. I'm glad we're here tonight with some Mazdas down on the racetrack.
I'm looking forward to it. This, like I said, should be an absolutely extraordinary battle of drafting. And you can see in the background there, folks, that grandstand when Daytona Rising got completed in 2013 and it opened literally when we got a tour when I was doing the IMSA TV for Fox. And they gave us a big tour of everything and talked to one of the architects. And they said they literally, as I said, had to factor in the curvature of the earth. That is so long. And that in and of itself tells you a little bit, Andrew, when you come out of what would be Speedway 4 and that you've already been absolutely flat chat up in the banking after you get through the bus stop, it is such a long, fast run that we're watching right here. And as you dive down into turn 1, and the key word there is dive, because the track, as you turn in, you have to get off of the 18-degree banking that it carries down through the tri-oval, and then you click down and flatten out as you get down into turn 1. And as all that's happening from about as fast as you could possibly go, right about where we're seeing some of those cars, the track narrows up. So it is a tricky piece of real estate, and I know that's one of the reasons, Andrew, that this track could be so compelling.
Absolutely. I mean, from the get-go, it's basically like a good hook in a song or a good hook in a book. That transition down off the banking, it doesn't matter what car you bring here. It could be a GTP, it could be a Pontiac Solstice. Any car you bring here is going to have some kind of trouble because faster cars, of course, you have to lift that much earlier. Then you still have that transition down onto the flat and then through those bumps. And there's that crown in the road even once you get onto the flat and get onto the road course. The crown in the road really makes it difficult in sports cars, especially. You come over one side, it's almost like it's negatively cambered. You come over the road a little bit and drop down into kind of the seat of the corner a little bit and have a little bit of natural camber in the road. And if you can get that just right, hey, you can get through the corner nicely. If you get it just a little bit wrong, it seems like it's the end of your day, and certainly it can be in a hurry. Turn 1 at Daytona has to be one of the most complex corners, yet you go through it so fast, it's by in a flash, and it seems like it's hardly even part of the lap.
Yeah, you're dealing with so much as you come from max speed down into that turn. And, of course, the other famous section of this track, aside from the banking, of course, is the bus stop, which this year, it was announced, was renamed the Le Mans Chicane. I still like bus stop a little bit better. But anyway, this, all the way down what they call the super stretch out of NASCAR or Speedway 2, and you're, again, going really quickly. And then it's this quick left-right and then right-left as you come back up onto the banking here. And they reprofiled that so it's not quite as an aggressive a bump coming up a number of years ago. And it's really made this part of the track just huge fun. not only to drive, but just to watch coming through here. And that's what makes this, so much fun. And but you do have to watch track limits, don't you? iRacing has its unique charges here, and it's easy, right? What we're watching here, Andrew, for these guys, if they overrun that second right and get too wide, there could be a track cut there coming back up onto the speedway.
Yeah, each apex right here through the bus stop is oh so important to your lap, and probably the last one is the most important because that, of course, sets you up for the long run back onto NASCAR 3 and 4 and around the tri-oval. But definitely, each and every single apex here, I feel like it gets more and more difficult and more important as you go through it. That first apex, that first bit of curbing, there's a bit more variability with how you can enter the corner. But once you get right down to it, there is a very fine line as you get through this bus stop, and you've got to get hooked right around the inside there of the first right. And if you miss it, like that car just did, boy, it is oh so troublesome for your lap. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can get spit out of this chicane and into the grass, into the barrier, into other cars. It's very easy to mess up and get wrong.
Well, true, and even if you run wide and save it without any issues, now you're just slow, launching back up onto the longest outright speed run here, all the way from the exit of the bus stop down into turn 1. So you're just going to, as you said, your lap is just going to be toast regardless at that point. And then let's, not forget, we've got the other two horseshoes, and those are really fairly easy to figure out. The quickest lines through them oftentimes aren't the ones you want to race with somebody right behind you, but there is a really quick, right here, the kink through the infield. We're just seeing the exit of that by Andrew Wozencroft, and they come through there, you're booking through this kink. And, with these cars, you're still going to be dancing on the edge just a little bit. So there's lots of nuance to this track, obviously, and then just getting the run right on that banking is always a real heart-in-the-throat moment. We've got about 5 minutes left in this qualifying session, and Nicholas Rice-Puto finds himself up on top right now. But look at these margins. Only 94 one-thousandths of a second between Rice-Puto and Rick Segrini. But the other side of the story is Morgan Burkhart is about 8/10 back of Rick Segrini, but Morgan tends to be a big last lap kind of guy. Olivier Piatek has just jumped up and is only 21 thousandths off of Burkhart. Beans Forster only another 49 one-thousandths. You see the trend here. Other than that gap from Rick Segrini to Burkhart, the margins here are next to nothing. And that's what we're talking about with this draft. And, when do you make that play, Andrew? Do you want to be second, third as you start that last lap? When do you want to go? How do you want to, all of that stuff? It's just really a tricky game to play, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I keep things simple. I don't race very often, but I just always want to try to be first. I rarely am, but I want to try to be first as Burkhart goes off the racetrack after completing a lap, and he's going to come to a stop and try to make one more run at things. Here's a look at Rick Segrini, and we'll kind of look through the rest of the field, but there's definitely a game to be played, and I think there's, just like the bus stop, there's any number of ways you can get through it, but there is still that fine line of how you get up to pole position. It's not very easy, and Rice-Puto right now has mastered it to this point. A 217 flat just about, 217.002. So close to going over that line into the 16s and really hitting a really interesting time, and it's difficult. It really is just difficult. That's the easiest way to say it.
Well, you need help. You've got to get with a partner. You've got to get some drafting
Absolutely.
help here. And that's what, and we just saw Morgan Burkhart now just jumped up, still in third, but he trimmed half of that 8/10 of a second deficit. So you get the toe, things can change in a hurry. The other guy that surprised me is Joshua Soto, who was right up near the sharp end of things in practice, has yet to turn a lap, which is a bit of a surprise. And we'll see what happens and if he can get back out and really put something together here. You can see, I don't know whether it was a course cut, if he overshot that timing. So he's got to really get something going here. He has been really quick since he showed up on the scene, Joshua has. But sometimes he pushes so hard, and sometimes you can make that little overshoot in a corner. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out here. We would expect him to jump up pretty quickly here if he gets a nice clean lap in. Here's that run through the bus stop, and I think that's Jorge Ortiz who has really hit his stride here and been really good, Andrew, in the last couple of events.
And he's looking good here tonight as well. I mean, clearly poised for a decent run at the very least. And sure, you've got to go through this 2-race format with 2 20-minute races, but Jorge is at least getting a pretty decent start. Anytime you qualify inside the top 10 or are contending around that top 10, that's a decent day. Of course, we all want to be first. We all want to win the race, but Jorge's off to a really, really nice start to the evening. And with 2 minutes left as he pushes the number 77 of Soto, hopefully they don't get any iRacing contacts, but Jorge across the line. It was a decent lap there as well, but I think he invalidated it. Yeah, previous lap, nil.
Yeah, because it's a very clear rule that if you bump draft in qualifying, you can certainly do it in the race, but if you bump draft in qualifying, that lap is invalidated automatically by iRacing. And our chief steward, Andrew Benna, said, we can't reinstate that. It just doesn't work that way. So do not be doing that in your practice or in your qualifying session. So you got to be a little careful. The other guy I wanted to touch on quickly, we have the regular suspects, if you will, in Rice Pudo, Rixengrini, Burkhardt, Piatek, Forster, Patry, but Dean Dibdahl in the number 99 has also really, it's like something clicked for him, and he has made a nice jump and is now up on the door of that top gathering of drivers right now. And here's something, as we start the second half of the season, Andrew, the top 10 right now are covered by only 73 points. And we have 5 rounds yet to go, and you get to drop 2. So that is incredibly close for the top 10. And I mean, you can go back even a bit more, and it's still incredibly close at this point. So, there you could take a look at it and just see just how the margins are, how tight they are, and a 2-way tie right now for second between Patry and Rice Pudo, the teammates. So so much yet to happen in this season.
There's a handful of ties as you go further down, but certainly just in that top 10, a lot of storylines to be had. The fact that your second, third, and fourth battle is only a couple of points apart as qualifying finalizes here, and we move on into the race session. It looks like we're expecting 9 laps per 20-minute race as you take a look here at positions a little bit further down in the field. But, Greg, we've got a field of drivers ready to go racing this evening, led by the number 03 of Nicholas Rice Pudo, who's been oh so quick through qualifying. Let's see how they line up for the race.
Absolutely. And just real quickly, a huge shout out to Full Sin Sims and Court Schmidt for creating this series and just having the vision to have it happen. And of course, Final Turn Motorsports, 3P Logistics, are presenting sponsors. By the way, next weekend, they're going to be really busy at the runoffs. They're probably already there getting ready to set up for some testing. So anyway, it's time. Let's take a look, as you said, at that starting lineup. It's Nicholas Rice Pudo with the 0-3 on pole over Jordan Rixengrini in the 108 starting second.
Starting third and fourth, Morgan Burkhardt and Olivier Piatek,
yep.
Piatek, there you go, in that fourth position. A really stacked top number 4.
It really is. And you look at who's starting up now in the 5th spot. Beans Forster, another of the guns up front, the number 23. Caleb Patry, one of the guys tied for second in the 998.
Starting 7th and 8th, how about Dean Dibdahl? See, I covered these guys with you, Greg, back in March. From March to September, I've slept a few times. I've forgotten all these name pronunciations. I'm going to have fun with that.
Well, but we have a lot of new entries, too, but that's Dibdahl, yep.
Dean Dibdahl, there we go. Jorge Ortiz starting from the 8th position. You were enamored with that 311 in qualifying, and certainly I think we all should be. 8th place starting spot, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, and at the previous race at VIR, he was right in the scrum at the front of things. Great performance, too, starting 9th in the 87 for Selin Roland, and starting in the 10th spot, Christian Rice Pudo in the 22.
Another big-time heavy hitter here towards the front of the field, Giancarlo Schooler, starting from the 11th position alongside Ethan Oring in the number 24.
Starting in the 13th spot, the 00 of Max Bankin, joined by Skip Brock Jr. in the number 32, a little off where he normally qualifies.
Starting 15th and 16th, how about Court Schmidt and Jordan Butler, the row of the 72s, apparently.
Absolutely. In the 17th spot, the 53 of Trace Hance, joined by Max Schweid, starting 18th in the number 98.
Top 20 ends up with Jim Freidhofer and Max Dara in the number 11.
21st is Seth Spolman. 22nd is Rocco Pascarella.
Falling back 23rd and 24th. How about Jose de las Casas? And finally, Luis Mireles. Miares? That's a fun one there on the 24th spot.
And 25th, it's Michael Melvin and Andrew Gilliland in the 26th spot. And we're going to keep showing you the rest of the lineup here as you see Andrew Wozencroft and Alex McLean. But the field coming up for the start here. And you get out of Speedway 4 there, and it's still a long, long run up to that starting line. 35 cars going to take the green. Pace car moves in. We are under the control of the starter here, waiting for that flag. We're green! Here we go at Daytona. The second half of the Full Send Sim Spec Miata Season 3 is underway. Look at Jorge Ortiz going way up top to the outside here. Side by each, Rice Puto and Rick Segrini down in. Oh, and Jorge, I don't know whether he had it step out on his own or whether he got a little help, but around he went, and that is going to pay the end to a great qualifying effort. Boy, does he have work to do now, Andrew.
And he's fallen all the way back to the last few positions now as we run into the International Horseshoe side by side for second, but out front, Jordan Rick Segrini taking the race lead. Morgan Burkhardt in the second spot, Nicholas Rice-Puto third, and Burkhardt fishtailing out of the corner. He was swaying that car, and now they go down to the kink.
Yeah, he really wants to get around on Rice Puto so he can run 1-2 with his teammate, and he's got position right now, and it's all going to be, and he may have been slowed up a little bit. Rick Segrini, his entry into that wasn't as quick. Look at Beans Forster now in the black and red car to the far left of your screen, trying to make a move, coming up on Nicholas Rice Puto, and I don't think that's going to pay off because he's on the outside. Boy, another crucial run up on to the speedway here. And that looks like Selin Roland has jumped up in there as well and noses ahead of Beans.
Sealand just goes right on by with the 8 of turn number 6 going nicely for the 87 car. That's going to help big time. Meanwhile, teammates out front able to control the draft now. This is important from the get-go. We're talking about different corners here at Daytona. I think the most important part of this race, the draft. And teammates now controlling this race spells trouble for everybody else.
Oh, yeah, and especially when it's Burkhardt that's involved there. 2 straight championships as they dive for the first time in anger down into the Le Mans chicane or the bus stop. Ooh, that was a wide run there. And look at Rice Puto taking advantage of that big moment. He's going by both of them. Rice Puto into the lead. And it was exactly what you were talking about earlier, Andrew, when we were looking at some of the key corners. You get part of that chicane wrong, and look what happens in Rice Puto to the front.
Here comes Bean Forster. Here comes Dean Dibdahl. Side by side, a couple of rows deep. We're going to have some fun down here across the line for lap number 1. It's going to get more fun down to turn 2. What a save from the 99 of Dibdahl.
Yeah, that was Olivier Piatek, who I think surprised him. Went 3 wide for a moment and got that position back. Now he sets up for 1. And he's floating out there, and Dibdahl's going to come right back down to the inside in that battle for that 5th and 6th spot right now. And there's Dibdahl. Looks like he's going to hang on to it at this stage. But, man, this racing is absolutely furious, as we would expect here at Daytona. But Rice Puto continues now to lead after that very opportunistic move through the bus stop.
How about the fact that we've only got 1 lap complete? 3 minutes have ticked off the clock. These guys have limited attempts in each of these 2 heat races to get the job done. Only 9 times in each race will they see each of these corners, and that means you've got to get every corner, every lap absolutely perfect, make each corner count, which also means you got to make those corners back onto the oval count that much more. Turn 6 and the bus stop are going to be so important, and this is a big one. Turn 6, this braking zone, you've got to kind of lay back early, get that run onto the oval.
Yeah, absolutely. 3.56 miles, the length around here. And as you said, when you only have 20-minute races, those laps take forever, and there's not many of them as we continue to watch Dibdahl in a fighting 5th right now, chasing Beans, and right behind him is the 111 of Giancarlo Schooler, who is the 3rd member of the team that includes obviously Jordan Rixon-Greeny and Morgan Burkhardt. So he's working a little bit of a rear guard here. And how about Ethan Oren, the number 24? Superb job, and big move there. And looks like Burkhardt has gone through on Rice Pudo, and that's that draft coming into play. Hello. There's your little bump draft.
Right into your living room there at Rice Pudo on the back end of that Miata of Morgan Burkhardt, and everybody going to join right back in line, the conga, as they come around the oval at turns 11 and 12, or NASCAR 3 and 4. When do they make the move for the lap? Here comes Rice Pudo. He dives back in line.
Yep, tucks in. Now look at Beans Forster, and Rice Pudo drops low, got enough of a toe, he thinks. He needs somebody to go with him. And that is Rixon-Greeny who ducks down and gives him a little bit of help here with Dibdahl. And is that going to be enough for him to lead? It is. Now he's just got to not make a mistake here as Burkhardt has to run a little bit wide and makes the save, but that's going to cost him a little bit of momentum. And Rixon-Greeny's going to go by. Dibdahl's going to give it a shot too, but he's on the wrong side. But Forster down to the inside, he might be able to make something happen here on Giancarlo Schooler.
Yeah, hello, Giancarlo. He's suddenly in this fight. I don't know where he came from, but running seventh, battling with Beans Forster there through the International Horseshoe. Will go down to the kink. Look at how close they are for fifth and sixth, the 23 and 24. Oring and Forster making some contact now down to the West Horseshoe again. And, Oring tried to get in behind Beans. He was still side by side. Not quite clear. They sorted out.
Yeah, Beans parked him a little bit there, which is great racecraft. And you remember, Olivier Piatek had been well up the order and then faded a few spots. Now he's climbing back up. He's into the 7th spot and doing a really solid job. And Skip Brock Jr., he started well outside of the top 10, and he has done an incredible job moving up through the pack here as well. Right there in the middle of that group behind Piatek. It's Schooler, Brock, Max Schweid completing your top 10. A little bit of damage there, you caught it on the back of Piatek.
Yeah, a lot of damage on that car. It's explaining why he's had some troubles as we're side by side again for the race lead teammates. As I mentioned, Rixon-Greeny and Burkhardt controlling the draft up front, even though they sometimes fall back to second and third and watch Rice Pudo take a run on them. They are still controlling this race, even if they do it from a couple of spots back. Why? Because power in numbers. They are the only teammates I see up front that are actually able to work together. I mean, they're here. They are the only team that is actually concentrated in these top 5 or 6 positions. They get to pretty much lead this race just by that. Even if they're from second and third, they're kind of still leading because they have the numbers.
Well, you're right. And right now, Rice Pudo, as you said, is the lone warrior because his teammate is Caleb Patry, who qualified well. I think he was caught up in that first turn melee and is now back in 31st. So right now, this is a scenario for Rice Pudo where he's hoping somebody else comes up to join him, like a Dibdahl maybe, and tries to do something here and help him out just a little bit. But I'll tell you what, this train continues here. And part of this, Andrew, they are also exploring, the guys at the sharp end are going, okay, if I'm in this position, if I'm in 4th, what do I need to do to make a run here? Into the pits. That is a tough break for Celine Roland, who was having a really, really good race as well. But a lot of this is data gathering, isn't it? Just, where do I need to be when?
Absolutely, and especially if you're back into the top 10 here, I think you're trying to learn a lot for race number 2 because it's going to be difficult to just go through 10 cars or so, but if you're able to hang on to the back end of this draft line, you can do a lot of learning and set yourself up nicely just from a base of knowledge for race number 2. Even if you can't drive through the snake of cars and get up to the top few spots, you can learn what you've got to do to enable yourself to take advantage of race 2.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had a bad qualifying run and you could do something here, like you said, you could set yourself up nicely. It's Rixon-Greeny out front, Rice Pudo, Burkhardt on board with 2-time champ Morgan Burkhardt. Got a nice run, pops to the outside, and there's not a lot you can do at this stage when you get that kind of a run. And let's see if he's able to clear Rice Pudo and get behind Rixon-Greeny. And no, he's not. He had to give it up because he just didn't have enough overlap to be able to sweep the outside into the bus stop.
A little further back, some battling. You've got Rocco Pascarella and Max Bankin. This is the 00 and the 95, 14th and 15th as they swap around positions. They just swapped into the bus stop. Just some interesting battling throughout the field. And hey, Court Schmidt is working his way through the field as well. That Full Send Sims, number 172. Remember, he was in the row of 72s further back. He's not the top 72 of the race, but he is working through the field nicely.
Yeah, he's coming up through it, isn't he? And, now up to 13th. And look at this scrap now as Burkhardt was able to clear Rice Puto. But now Beans Forrester, big move down to the inside of Rice Puto, trapped Dibdahl on the outside just a little bit. They're 3 abreast at the exit of 1 into one of the tightest sections of the track, and they are 3 abreast still. This is absolute insanity here. And that is Beans Forrester in that black car with the white hood, with the Full Send Sims livery on it. That has made a big leap up into 3rd. And guess who's gone with him, Andrew? Ethan Oring. Ethan, new to our championship this year. Welcome, Ethan. What a battle he's putting in.
And Oring was getting beaten, banged around down there in the International Horseshoe. Glad he hung on to it and stayed pretty much on the racing line. Contact there again, that time with Rice Puto, who was on the outside and dropping back to about 8th or 9th in turn 1. He's right back to position number 4 as they head down to turn number 6 and back onto the oval. A couple of drivers having trouble this lap. It looks like Alex McLellan, Michael Melvin, one of my buddies further back. He's having issues. Andrew Gilliland, Rich Green, Jorge Ortiz, all having troubles as we continue on here just inside of 10 minutes to go.
And another great pass by Olivier Piatek after Ethan got caught up in that. He was able to get through, go underneath, and make that move now back up into 6th. Been a little bit of a seesaw race here for Olivier, but he's got nothing but fight in him. There's no question about that. And this is just a fascinating study right now. And the one thing Ethan's got to understand is going into that second horseshoe, the one they call the West Horseshoe, the fast line is you straight line in, then you open the wheel up and sort of diamond it to get the run out. But when there's somebody right behind you, you open that wheel up, they're diving down the inside, and that's why he suddenly got displaced and moved back a couple of spots. And that's just a matter of racecraft and just, figuring it out that I cannot do that going into that horseshoe. The fast line there is not the best line to race when you've got somebody behind you.
Trial and error is the best way to learn, and that falls true for racing as well. Try again. If it doesn't work, keep trying.
Exactly. Burkhardt out front, and his teammate Rickson Greeny trying
Whoa!
to Rickson Greeny open the door up.
Dibdahl. What a save, and we've got, that's not going to work. Around goes Giancarlo Schooler along with Dean Dibdahl. There we go, getting the names out. Giancarlo, I don't know what just happened in turn 1 other than a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. Big wiggle. You can see Dibdahl just got a little, or was that Giancarlo Schooler? Oh, then he got bumped by the 98 of Schweid, and that sent Dibdahl over into Giancarlo Schooler, who was trying to make an outside move. And, hey, that's one of the things. Outside in turn 1, it can work if everybody is really clean inside. But if somebody has a problem, it's going to sort of domino right into your door.
There's Dibdahl when he got real loose, just crossed up into turn 1. Then there was that contact with the 98 and Giancarlo Schooler, and suddenly backwards were the 99 and the 111. That's a lot of trouble there in one corner.
Yeah, it sure was. And, man, both of those guys, particularly Dibdahl, having an absolutely stellar race. And now he's dropped back almost out of the top 15. So some real issues for him. And that has, I was going to say it may have let these guys get a little bit of a break. But look at Olivier Piatek. Beans had a run, had to pop to the outside not to lose his momentum, but when he did, it was immediately filled by Rice Puto. So now look at Beans. He had to really get creative through that chicane, and he may have made that work. Wow, what a move that was. But still, Rice Puto got a better run through it, and Piatek going with him. And now Rice Puto noses ahead, and that puts Rice Puto into that final podium spot. However temporary it could well be as we're coming up on 6 minutes to go.
Creative was a great way to describe the way they went through the bus stop that time. Side by side were Beans Forrester and Jordan Rixagrini, and that almost went very, very poorly. Hello, Skip Brock Jr. Welcome to the fight. That yellow Miata here at the back end. Oh, that's not going to work. Not clear. Flipping in the grass.
Somebody went upside down.
Still flipping.
Look at the tumble.
Unbelievable.
Holy
wow.
cow. Landed right on the back of that car. Look at this.
He's still going. He's still going. He's still flipping. That is the 03 of Rasputo. He's still flipping.
He was. That's absolutely unbelievable. You know, anybody who says that these Miatas don't carry some momentum here, look at that. Just got tapped after he got sideways by Beans. I didn't see, to be honest with you, who first clipped him there and sent him sideways. Boy, that didn't help. That's why he got that second bit of momentum here. Wow.
That is unbelievable. Nicholas Rasputo, watch this. This is a case of not clear. I think he comes down into Beans Forster and is going to pretty much turn himself. And this is a great exhibition of iRacing's new grass. What's the word? Physics. There you go.
Yeah. And now the grass has grip and bite, doesn't it? And look at this. He gets clonked right there. And that gives him a whole nother moment of energy here.
I will give those that might be a little more squeamish in terms of, I guess, motion sick, whatever. I'll give you guys a warning here. We're going to take a pretty unique onboard. This might be a little bit fun. We'll go back and just watch. There's a lot of tumbles. I challenge somebody to count the amount of tumbles here, and oh my gosh, his poor wheel is freaking out, so you can see it back and forth, left and right, just about as quick as you're going sky ground, sky ground. This is end-to-end pirouetting into turn number one. That is really, really spectacular.
And he gets clocked right at the end there too, Andrew. That was just insane. We had what we thought was going to be the record for most flips a couple of races ago. That just took it without doubt here. And all of that, look what it's done. It has allowed the teammates, Burkhardt and Rick Sagrini, to get away a little bit. And look at Skip Brock. He is in a racy mood. You know, at this point, you wonder, with only 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go, are they now just, you know, have said, all right, we're battling for third in the last podium spot. And, you know, the last thing you want going into the last couple of laps of a race is to have Burkhardt with a teammate right behind him with a little bit of a gap. That's what we have.
Yeah, Burkhardt's already got, what, a 20-point gap on the field, 22 points on the field. Yeah. Now he's got a couple of tenths on the rest of the field right now in this race. Call it a second on Forster, so his first real competition. Sure, he might go mano-a-mano at the end with his teammate Rick Sagrini if they can hang on here, but his first real competition is a second behind him with 2 laps to go at Daytona. That's not good for the rest of the field. That second is the draft delta that you want to be within. You get about a second, maybe 1.1 seconds, so if Burkhardt and Rick Sagrini can put some real work in here, they can try to break that delta, but right now Forster's still just within it.
And that's the entire thing, isn't it? You know, they've just right now, you know, we saw Forrester, Brock, and Piatek battling, a little off there for the 221 of Charles Vaccaro. But if they can just, you know, and, you know, we know Beans has speed, and I think this was good. Let Beans get up into third, and then have both Brock and Piatek work together and try and stay with Beans. Of course, Beans right now is saying, I don't know that I want help. I want to be able to just get up here and run free. But the problem is that if he's doing that, he can't get any help with somebody in terms of a bump draft to try and close him up, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm surprised Beans ran up on the top of the banking. We didn't quite see the 2 leaders. I wonder if they were doing it as well. That would explain why Beans was so far up the racetrack. But it looked for a moment like he was trying to give the spot up, maybe try to use the draft from Skip Brock Jr. and Olivier Piatek. That didn't happen. Now, yeah, the top 3 are all running up on the wall. And what's interesting is, I don't know if they're trying to break the draft, but this is only going to bring the top 5 closer together. Skip Brock Jr., Olivier Piatek, they're going to be able to run that more narrow, shorter radius around the corner. They should theoretically catch, and I say that, and they're falling back.
Well, and some of it is, if you're running up high, it really opens up the angles into turn 1 and into the bus stop, as opposed to being a little bit tighter down the line. Here we go, white flag. And at the line, the margin, 95 one-thousandths of a second in traffic. Great job getting out of the way. Trap Skip Brock a little bit. I mean, you can't just hit the disappear button. And Beans Forrester now has got to run. Is he going to do a late dive down on Rick Segrini? He is. Down into the International Horseshoe. He is through. And even with Skip Brock getting held up a little bit, he was able to make that happen, and he brought Olivier Piatek right with him. So just that fast, Rick Segrini loses that second spot. And right now they've got to work together because Burkhardt has a half-second lead.
And that feels like everything the rest of the field needed in order to upset Morgan Burkhardt late in this race. That splits up the two teammates. Yes, they can get back together. They still have power in numbers, but you've got a car in between. You've got Beans Forrester now to play a spoiler. All it takes is Skip Brock Jr. to get a good run on Rick Segrini, and I think Forrester can go properly to work. That said, he's out wide at turn 6. That's going to pull the 23 back away from the 40 car now just a bit, but he's unimpeded in the draft up to Burkhardt. Let's see how this plays out down to the bus stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure he's going to want to try something into the bus stop. He just wants to catch him and be right behind him as they exit the bus stop. So this is everything here right now. And the one thing, Burkhardt having that little bit of an extra margin, he was able to sort of open the radius up into corners, go back to that fast line as opposed to that better racing line. You see that bump?
Yeah, Forrester got to the back end of Burkhardt, then lifted, and that bunched up Rick Segrini, which actually might help Rick Segrini. He gets a better launch out of the bus stop now because he backed up his exit as a result of all that. And look at that. That was textbook from Burkhardt and Rick Segrini. They put Forrester on the outside. Numbers are going to work once again at Daytona. This is an easy run to the checkers, I think.
Well, but I was going to say, Skip Brock getting a double toe, now a triple toe. He might carry a bit more speed if he can find a way through. Nope, not going to happen, but here comes Rick Segrini. Brock diving way down to the inside at the line. It is Burkhardt by 51 thousandths of a second. Now, check that now. It's updating. 44 one-thousandths of a second with Beans Forrester another 25 one-thousandths back. Skip Brock another 20 thousandths back. Basically, folks, the top 4 are covered by less than a tenth of a second. That was exceptional.
That was Daytona.
Yes, indeed. Holy cow, what a race that was. And I'll tell you, when those guys got side by side and then briefly went to that 3 wide coming to the line, Andrew, Skip Brock, he got one heck of a run, and he just couldn't quite clear him and get to where he needed to be quite soon enough. But how fun was that? And we still got close battles finishing up here everywhere. Wow. Look at this.
Results are still finalizing, but this is a look at your results. We won't get a very long window here. Morgan Burkhardt, big time win over Rick Segrini, Forrester, Skip Brock Jr., Olivier Piatek. What a top 5.
Oh, incredible. And very, very close, as I said. I mean, the top 5 are covered by 6/10, but that top 4 by less than a tenth. For Giancarlo Schooler, got caught out there. Look at Kurt Schmidt, fought his way up almost into the top 10. Wozencroft, Friedhofer, Pasquarella up in the top 15. Patry, who was deep down, about 28th at one point, up into 16th, fighting for everything he could possibly get. Caleb Patry, that was probably the drive of the race right there.
Definitely. Just impressive stuff all around. Through the top 20 as a whole, a lot of drivers, a lot of highlights, certainly a lot of drivers with some low lights, if you will, as we wait on Rich Green to come across the start-finish line. He will be the last driver to finish. That's why you see his numbers still clicking off. But the rest of the field right there, Michael Melvin, Seelan Rowland, some really unfortunate results there. Even Andrew Gilliland down there in 33rd spot. And Ethan Oring, just as results finalized, Oring was sent down, I think, to 16th. That indicates a penalty when it's all said and done. So Ethan Oring, I'm not sure if it was a corner cut. I'm not sure if it was an incident penalty. Usually that's a corner cut when it comes to road racing. Problems there for Ethan Oring in the 24. He was so good earlier on in that first race. That's not how you want things to go.
No, he was brilliant in that race. And the other guy, Jorge Ortiz, with that incident and everything, he is deep and now going to be starting deep in the field as well. So just really unfortunate, obviously, and we hate to see it. While we have this little bit of a moment here, though, just want to remind everybody once again, Full Send Sims, we talk about it, but I mean, after all, it was, Court Schmidt who came up with the idea for this series, and he's got an extensive background in military simulation, and also is a real-world racer, and a good one. And so that combination allows him to build these custom turnkey racing sims that are absolutely phenomenal. And I did want to mention they have a new one out now, and it is the Pro Ultimate Rig. Features a triple screen setup, a 49-inch center monitor, 2 side monitors, and a 34-inch fourth or top monitor for telemetry, track data, and maps. Check it out at fullsendsims.com. And again, I also want to remind everybody that Full Send Sims, they have a mobile trailer that's got a couple of sims in it. It's at a number of racetracks, a lot of the SCCA national events. It's there for people to be able to go in and practice if they're struggling somewhere on that track. Bring your coach in. It's got 2 sims you can link up. Also, if you're having a get-together or some sort, or a track day or whatever, check in again, fullsendsims.com. They will bring it out and have it on site for you there. Also do want to say a huge thanks to Rob Greenwood, owner of Final Turn Motorsports. He is going to be fielding 3 cars at the 60th annual runoffs coming up, starting with testing on Friday here, and then next weekend for the national championships. The guys that are going to be driving for him are Noah Harmon in both the Spec Miata in the SMX class, and then Rob Bailey is also going to be running in the SM class. And Final Turn has created a new Kart to Cars program for up-and-coming young driver development. So check that out, Final Turn Motorsports at gmail.com. Also, Frank Rodriguez and 3P Logistics, they're going to be attending the run-ups, supporting Final Turn Motorsports' effort there. They have new driver programs from school to full competition license, and top-notch cars available for 2024 rentals. And they will also be attending the SCCA run-ups with their own drivers at Road America. So for more with them, info at 3plogistics.com. We just can't thank them enough. They're a huge aspect of this championship, clearly along with Full Send Sims, Andrew.
Absolutely. It takes so many people, to make these kinds of leagues happen. And sure, you can have, I think Kyle might use a word podunk to describe some short tracks here in America. You can have some leagues like that kind of operate on their own kind of smaller frequency. But in order to do it at this scale, and to do what these guys do at Full Send Sims, it takes so many people doing so many things, all in these parts and pieces, a lot like an engine. It takes everything working just right in order to do it properly. So in order to get that higher horsepower, in order to get better power to the crank, to the wheel, everything, you've got to be absolutely perfect, and these guys are. It's always a pleasure to step in, like I said earlier, here for Kyle and talk about these kinds of races, and especially call a race with you, Greg. That's always a pleasure in and of itself. But to be here, especially for Full Send Sims in a Spec Miata style league, this is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, and we just saw it. The racing is absolutely off the hook, and I think Court knew that was going to be a real possibility here, and obviously using it to help market the Sims, but also just to present something really, really cool. And as you said, really having a great production as well. You go, if you're watching live on YouTube, or you go back and watch the archive races, just the production that you guys at SimTV put in is absolutely stellar. Do want to remind people of a couple more things real quick. As always, Full Send Sims offers one-on-one instructional sessions. You can book them on their website at fullsendsims.com. The instructors are 2-time champ Morgan Burkhardt, Ben Beans Forster, Conrad Chatchik, and also they also have racing schools. All league members are free to join the class. Those who are a little bit off the pace or banging out too many fenders, virtual fenders from previous races, maybe an opportunity there. Just want to let everybody know the next school is coming up on the 28th. That's always on Thursday nights, the 28th, from Watkins Glen, and that's where our next, we'll be racing at Watkins Glen in a couple of weekends. So that's an opportunity. If you're not familiar, we're going to be running the Cup course, so that school will cover everything on the Cup course. So as always, Full Send Sims really looks after every aspect of this, and I think we're wrapping up on our, yep, here we go. We're starting to grid, and that means we got another 20-minute race. It's going to be tough to beat the top four covered by 91 thousandths of a second at the line in race 2, but I'm not betting against it.
Certainly, I don't know how you could bet against these guys. We are trying to pull the starting lineup. It looks like it's a little bit off. Morgan Burkhardt should be listed as pole. Jordan Rixagrini should be listed second. Interesting. That might be out the window. It seems like maybe we're going to have to work without the starting grid tonight. We'll try it one more time. Let's give it a shot. Interesting. Yeah, Burkhardt should be starting from first. Rixagrini second. But, hey, graphics sometimes, they kind of act as they please.
Yes. Well, hey, that's part of the world of things digital, isn't it? But yeah, Burkhardt, Rixagrini, Forrester, Brock with that great run starting in fourth. Piatek and Schweid, Ethan Oring and Trace Hance starting 7th and 8th. So the field is underway here as we get ready to go for this second race. Really looking forward to this one based on what we just experienced. This one should be fun, Andrew.
Absolutely. It shouldn't be fun. It will be fun, we'll say.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Spec Miatas on the high banks of Daytona International Speedway. There are few better combos than that, and especially for these short sprint race formats. I really love leagues that utilize that functionality. Heat races can do a lot of things in iRacing. They can also give you kind of race 1, race 2 formats like these guys do, and it really creates some special moments like we saw in that first race and like we're about to see here in race number 2.
I agree. And the interesting thing here is, we got Jorge Ortiz, Celine Roland, Nicholas Rice-Puto, all starting outside of the top 25. Josh Soto as well. We know the speed they have. So these opening laps here could be absolutely insane. And we've seen it before, Andrew. It is the second race where we tend to see a little bit more free-range carnage here. So let's see how everybody does here in these first few corners. We're green. Panning out immediately, and the whole answer is going to be here down into turn 1. How clean do they keep it here? Beans Forrester right there trying to freeze out Rixagrini on the outside. Wants to dive down. Rixagrini, look at that, 5-6 abreast. Now everybody's got to funnel back in, and that's where contact happens. And, yep, somebody's spinning around right in the middle of the field. 2-3 cars gathered up, but boy, remarkably, only one car kind of stopped there. So this is looking pretty good. And Skip Brock has nosed in front of Beans Forrester. So a great start from a good starting position for Skip.
Looks like that was Jim Friedhofer back there that was turned around and stopped out of turn number 1. Teammates side by side, lap 1 down to the West Horseshoe. They get single file. Rick Segrini falling down second place as we've got more drivers shifting, moving around this entire field. Some slow, some fast as they get this first lap in. Side by side, though, it looks like is that Dibdahl and Trace Hance as we've got some trouble further back.
Oh, boy, we sure do. That's a sizable loop there. That is the number 44 caught up in that. A couple other guys as well. There's Luis Milares. So it looks like everybody was able to continue, but obviously lost an awful lot of ground as well here, as it's Burkhardt out front, Rixagrini as we're looking back here, and hello again. There's the bump. Forrester got back around Brock. Right behind Brock is Olivier Piatek, Max Schweid right there. Then a little gap back to Trace Hance, and Dean Dibdahl is trying to fight his way through and manage, if he can, to get back up to that lead group. He knows after that first race he can run with them, and that's something that he wants to deal with here. And Ethan Oring.
Morgan Burkhardt in trouble!
Oh, Burkhardt goes around.
Rick Segrini slow as well. I think there must have been helpers. Something. What a dive down to the apron nearly from that blue and orange machine. That's the 58 going on. 53, Trace Hance. What a move. He's going to go through to second. Skip Brock now going to take over the race lead. We have got ourselves a barn burner for race 2.
And look at that black, green, and pink car. That's Celine Roland from way deep in the field. And you can see there's Kurt Schmidt in that as well. And I wonder if it was the teammates, if Rick Segrini maybe got in a little bit too firmly into the back of Burkhardt in a bump draft and sent him around. Or was it Beans? Look at this move. I'll tell you what, Schweid is absolutely in tiger mode right now.
Gonna let this try to calm down. We want to get the replay from a lap ago, or a half lap ago, I guess, for now. That's not gonna work. See later on the outside, contact from, I think that was Court Schmidt, maybe? Caught in the middle, I'm not sure. They are really hitting each other. They're still making contact out of the International Horseshoe down to the kink the second time through in race number 2. Up front, Skip Brock with the race lead. Then it's Hansen, Dibdahl, then Schooler in the 4th spot. Forster 5th as they all kind of, come together into the West Horseshoe. That was close with Forster up the inside. That is one way to take a position away. Jeez.
Yeah, I thought Schweid was going to clock him there, and somehow got it stopped. And another issue for Jorge Ortiz. Now he's in the pits. But let's go back and, okay, see what happened first of all. All right, let's watch what happened here. And was it Beans getting involved, or was it just those two? Well, there's a little bit of a gap there. They turn into the bus stop. There it is. Wow. Yeah, Morgan just got a little crossed up, but I don't think that Rick Sangrini, he didn't realize that he had lost so much momentum there.
We're going to watch it one more time, and this will be from Rick Sagrini's perspective once we get the onboard here. Watch Morgan Burkhardt down through the first couple of apexes of the bus stop. Again, this is, lap 1, lap 2? This is really crazy for this to happen. Burkhardt certainly got loose, fell back, and Rick Sagrini's just trying to do his job. Man, that is huge to have that early. And what a save! That is what put, who was that down the grass? Wow.
That was Piatek.
Yeah.
And then here comes who you were talking about, Trace Hans. While everybody else was checking up, he just went through, threaded the needle. Looked like a road rage moment with a guy going on all 3 lanes on the freeway, and it paid off big for him. But holy cow.
Oh, 3 wide, down to turn 1. That's not going to work.
Brock gets hit. Is that Burkhardt again going around?
No, that was Giancarlo Schooler, who was out to the wall, and the car's junk.
Yeah, he clocked. Look at it. It won't do anything right now.
Oh, no. That is not where you want to be.
No, punch out, buddy. There you go.
Wow.
Wow. This is, we said second races often get a little bit nuts here, and that's what we're seeing play out. There's no question about that. And you know what? Jordan Rick-Sangrini did the exact right thing. As they got into the bus stop, he checked up, he backed up, and gave the 40 of Burkhardt a little bit of space. And Morgan just got too much curb turning down into the bus stop, it looked like, unsettled him. And when he got the next curb, it just kicked him sideways. So, wow, huge development here, obviously. And
let's catch our breaths.
Yeah, Burkhardt just, this is your point leader now. Burkhardt back in 14th.
Ethan Oring more trouble as he's down to the pit lane, it looks like, by a toe. And you mentioned Morgan Burkhardt, points leader, won race number 1. And it's a good thing that he won race number 1 now, because as you mentioned, down in 14th spot, as low as 21st, though, in this race. Yeah. That's pretty impressive that he's back up at a 14th.
Yeah, he does. He just is so quick. By himself, in a draft, whatever. He's just really, really good. He's got Rocco Pascarella right behind him. And Christian Rice-Puto is the car up in front as we go back to this absolutely amazing battling here. You can see there was Butler, Schmidt, Wozencroft right behind Court there.
Whoa, that's a big block from Schweid.
Yeah, that sure was. And, he's got a problem. I think he had a slowdown.
It might have been. He might have been trying to get out of the way instead of blocking. Yeah. I think he was trying to bail from that line, and Jordan Butler just happened to zig when he zigged instead of zagging. But they all get it sorted out, and now Schweid falling back. Christian Rice-Puto goes by. There goes Burkhardt, who's now into 13th, and our leaders are back at it here. Wouldn't you know? Across the line at Daytona, we're going to have some fun in turn 1.
Forster, Rick Sagrini, then Trace Hance. And then right behind him is Dean Dibdahl and Celine Roland from way deep in the field. What a run he's putting in here. Look at this now. Whoa. Trace trying to straight line it and gets absolutely squeezed there for an instant by Dibdahl. And that looks like Pascarella.
It is.
Has gone absolutely inverted here. And that's the 98 is Schweid again. Boy, he's had a busy, busy race.
Yeah, even in race 1, remember he had that contact, I think it was, with Giancarlo. Right at the end of the race, I think. Exactly. Yeah, so he has been busy for sure. Let's take a look back. We're getting pretty used to doing this. We got to find the 98. I think is going to be our key for for turn one here. Remember, he had that slowdown up onto the banking, it looks like, and that brings him back to Burkhardt. I think it's going to maybe start ahead of him. We'll just watch from here, though.
Yeah, exactly, because Max Dara is that black car with the red striping on it.
Oh, hello.
And that's Pasquarella, and they touch there. Looks like everything's sorted, and then, yeah, they just both tried to go for that same spot, didn't they, Andrew?
Yeah, it looked like maybe Schwein was trying to hook in behind the 95 of Rocco Pasquarella into turn one. That did not quite work. One last look. We'll come back to live picture as we get close to halfway. Beans Forster leading, but this is, wow, yeah. Pasquarella down on the apron trying to find something. There's that 77 you talked about in qualifying. Joshua Soto involved in this as well. Here's a really good look.
Yeah, you're exactly right. He was just trying to cut back underneath Pasquarella. Wow. And just ticked him enough. You know, it was such a slight glance. It was enough to get Pasquarella sliding, but not enough to slow him down. And so he got up there. Look at this. Forster leading Dibdall now with Rixengrini right behind him, trying to work that outside line and get after it. Then Hansen, Celine Roland behind them having a battle. Couple of different approaches here, heading down. Here we come, and you can see right there, Dibdall knifes down, and just that quick, Forster first to third. Dibdall stays put. Rixengrini now pops to the outside, trying to square up underneath, and Dibdall did not open the door up enough. Put his car right where Rixengrini was thinking of going. And now this little bit of battling with these three guys should bring Trey Sands, Celine Roland, Nicholas Rice-Puto, and Skip Brock right back into the equation here as we are at halfway.
It won't stop there because look at who else is coming. The 72 of Butler, this 172 of Schmidt, that row of 72s, they're working through the field. Rosencroft in 10th, he's gaining on these guys. Christian Rice-Puto, he could be in the conversation, and I think even back to Morgan Burkhardt could be in the cards, at least to get a top 10, considering he's rolling back out to these guys only 10 seconds back. Sure, these guys have draft. They're going to pull away on the oval. But if they keep holding each other up enough in the road course, we're going to have some fun. And I think a lot of these cars, we're going to get a much longer line than we have now. Rosencroft slow.
Oh. Yeah, he sure was.
Might have been a slowdown.
I was just going to say, and that's the thing is that when you were talking about Burkhardt, at that point he had about a 4-second deficit up to Christian Rice-Puto and those guys. Well, with that moment now, that's been trimmed just in that one moment by a second. So if he can latch onto the back of those guys, I'm not sure he's going to make it to the top 5 because he'd have to clear all those other guys and then run this group down. But he certainly has. And look at this battle here. Great battle here between Court Schmidt and I think it's the 72 of Butler.
That it is, yeah, right back down to the bus stop. Schmidt on the offensive. He was taking a look to the inside, now got crossed up a little bit and a four-wheel slide out left. Glad he hung on to it, but the car definitely did not like the compression there early in the bus stop. Went out sideways just a tad and lost a lot of speed.
Yeah, we just saw evidence of what we talked about at the top of the show. One little mistake in that bus stop, and you can either lose a big lead or just drop well off here if you're in chase mode. And Dibdall pops high. Not sure what that plan was because here comes Rixengrini and Beans. I wonder if Dibdall said, I don't want to lead. I want to drop to third here. And then we talked about it. Work on what is my racecraft going to be, but he gave up maybe a little bit too much momentum because here comes Hans now, and Hans is going to have that inside line. Dibdall's going to have to do everything he possibly can here to stay in position. He may have done just enough, but that was an interesting move. I think it was, I want to be third. I want to see how I can play that, but he ended up giving up maybe a little bit more, but now hangs on at least to third.
Here comes Trace Hance fighting back alongside Celine Roland, who has absolutely turned his own day around. Really nice fate controlling, if you will, for his own self in the number 87. Celine in the top 5 racing. That was close into the West Horseshoe. But you're right, it was an interesting play to turn one from Dean Dividal. And I feel like it was to try and play chess when these guys were playing checkers a little bit. He was trying to get back, and I mean, think Martinsville, NASCAR, and actually maybe Mazda's here soon as they went testing there. But if you're the first car in line, you're going to get hit. If you're a couple of cars back, you're going to be doing the hitting. So if they were to accordion in that corner, he was kind of getting himself a different play as now Trace Hance tries to get into the draft of Celine Roland, and Roland goes back down to Rice Pudo, managing that draft nicely. But I feel like Dean was trying to play the corner, just gave up a little too much.
Yeah, I think so. And also, we just saw that was Trace Hance overshot turn 6 and went way wide and immediately lost those 2 spots. And Nicholas Rice Pudo now, that puts him up in that red, the 5th car in the queue there, up into that top 5. Although I'm sure he's probably still dizzy from that crash in that first race. But now he's in a position with 6.5 minutes to go to be able to do something. Here comes Beans Forrester on the back of Jordan Rixon-Greeny, giving him a little bit of a shove. And now here comes Dibdall. And does he get close enough? Does he give them a tap and do something? I think he's playing it nicely or trying not to hit Beans in the turn. And now all bets are off at this stage. You can see Skip Brock Jr. way down to the inside trying to run the short line. Or does he? Oh, he pitted.
He's pitting. Yeah, this is
what a shame.
Big trouble for the 32 car. Not sure why he's got a pit. He does have a lot of damage there on the left side. A lot more damage, it looks like, on the left rear. Definitely has seen some action here in race number 2.
What a shame, because he came
I think
up
that might have been, I think that was a pass-through, a penalty.
A drive-through penalty. Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, that explains it here. And Celine Roland as Dibdall working wide lines through here, trying to carry speed. Let Celine Roland come right up along his shoulder, and Celine's got help from Rice Pudo. Now, they're going to probably have to give here because side by each through this kink is a little bit difficult, but Dibdall still leaves that open, swings that door open here. And I'll tell you, you can't drive the normal fast line here when you've got somebody on your inside. But Dibdall maybe was able to make it work because he's going to have the inside into turn 6. It does. Just make sure you don't overshoot 6. And he doesn't. Although Celine squared up a little bit and got a great drive out of 6. And that is going to, he's going to get help too from Rice Pudo. I think Rice Pudo is going to go by Dibdall. And there he goes.
Greg, it really looks like somebody punted the 99 at some point today or some point recently, because everything he does, every braking zone, it's like he's trying to cover up for somebody punting him. It looks like he's trying to make sure he won't get hit in a braking zone. I don't know if somebody traumatized him in practice. I don't know, but every time he brakes, he's trying to not get hit.
Well, and the thing is, that exchange between those three has done 2 things. It has allowed Rixon-Greeny and Forrester to build up almost a 6/10 of a second lead, and it's brought Trace Hance right back into the equation again, behind right now Dibdall at this stage, as we ride on with Dean at this moment here. And that is Nicholas Rice Pudo, and gonna keep an eye on that margin. Yeah, it continues to be. It's now 0.8 between Forster and Celine Roland. So these guys got to quit roughing each other up if they want to get in here and have a shot at the battle for the win.
Absolutely. Race car drivers have to stop racing for a second and work together. That never works. We'll see if they can give it a chance as now Rice Pudo goes on through. That actually might give them a really nice opportunity. Rice Pudo seems like he can hold his own really, really well. So if he's leading this group, I think they actually stand a better chance of catching up to Forster and Rixon-Greeny. And already Rice Pudo has kind of cut into that gap.
Yeah, he has by like 0.3. And the thing was, he made that pass, and they didn't battle all the way through a corner. His pass was so decisive, he was through and did not lose a lot of momentum. And you're right, we know he's got speed. And if Celine Roland can just stay with him here and give him the bump here and there when he needs it. I mean, look at this. That margin now, they've just trimmed another 0.1 of a second off here. So We have, what, 2 minutes 45. So this lap and one more. Oh, man, this battle is on again. Look at this. The train.
Back up onto the oval. You mentioned it. Inside of 2 laps to go. 1.5 laps to go, we'll say. What, 5 miles, maybe 5.5 miles left in this race to figure this out. That's only, let's see, one more good braking zone here this lap. One more to turn 1. That's 3 heavy braking zones left, maybe 4 or 5 if you count the horseshoes. Not many passing opportunities left. You've got to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and look at that. Right away, these two up front are working together so well. They briefly open up a little margin, but then Rasputo and Roland work that beautifully. Now we go through this bus stop, and it's the conga line. Looks like Beans had a little wobble there, lost just a smidge to Rixengrini. And now does Rasputo say, I want through, or does he say, nope, I want to tuck in and get us right back up onto the back of Rixengrini? Oh, man, Rasputo got a little bit of a bump from Roland, and he had a big wiggle there, was able to hang on to it. But that is hard in your throat stuff here as we're coming around. White flag going to be coming out here. And now, look at that, a big move by Rasputo. And Roland trying to go with him here. White flag is out. Did that work for Rasputo, or does he get trapped? Well, he's going to try and sweep the outside of Forster here. Forster, though, that inside line, and Roland going to try and do something with him here as well.
Here comes
Forster
Beans.
Beans, what a move. Roland just plugged him, and it just literally launched him up in front of Rixengrini. I hate to go back to that replay in the middle of this battle, but maybe at the end, because that could have been the moment that played a huge role here in the outcome of this race. Holy cow.
Dean Dibsdahl still side by side now with Rasputo as they head down to the West Horseshoe. Sealand Roland trying to move around, find a way by that 108 car of Rixengrini. Can't find any daylight there, and Rixengrini now right around the curbing in turn 5 gets right on by Beans Forster and sets up for an interesting run to the bus stop here. And contact for third. Roland just hangs onto it. Forster's going to have the draft back onto the oval. How does this one work out for the checkered flag in race number 2 at Daytona?
Yeah, this is going to be fascinating. And Celine Roland right now might be in the catbird seat because he's sitting in third, and he's got a slight margin back from Forster here, so he can get a good run here. But I just don't think you want to do anything into the bus stop. And as I say that, Beans says, well, maybe that's the deal. There's Roland, who helped Beans into the lead going into turn 2 and 3. He's going to help Beans into the lead here. And Roland slices through into second. That drops Rixengrini to third. Now it's all a matter of who gets out of here. Beans, nice run to the bus stop. Oh, man. That was Dibdahl and
Rasputo.
Yeah.
A slowdown for Beans Forster.
Did he get a cut in that chicane? He still is not back up to speed.
You mentioned it, catbird seat for the 87. Can he hang on here? The run to the checkers at Daytona.
And look at Dibdahl way down low. Contact there by Forster and Rasputo. Meanwhile, contact. Roland gets it all crossed up. Rixengrini comes through. Trace Hance taken out in the mess as well. Oh, my goodness. Was that Court Schmidt that just got caught up in that as well? Unbelievable finish once again here. This one, a little bit more of thrashing at the line as opposed to just close racing here. Rixengrini by 88 1/1000ths over Celine Roland, and it's showing Trace Hance cross the finish line in third as he was wrecking. Oh, my goodness.
That finish was far more controversial, and again, that was Daytona. That looked like the 2015 Coke 0400 here when they all crashed across the line. Austin Dillon went into the fence.
Yeah.
That's what that reminded me of. These guys, they held it together until the start-finish line, and everything came loose. A few more cars coming across the line. We have a lot to review after the checkers. We're going to quickly show you results and then go back and try and sort that out. We'll get a replay of turn 1, then come back around to the finish. That's a lot to talk about.
And folks, when we think about the point scenario, another wreck happening, the point scenario, look who's 7th, Andrew.
Morgan Burkhardt. I was going to mention it. Drove back into the top 10, as we mentioned could happen. Got by Court Schmidt, got by Andrew Rosencroft, got by Christian Rice-Budo into 7th. He was the next car behind that top 6 fight. Unbelievably, within 6 seconds of them. Remember, he was, 10 seconds back and losing time to the leaders just with 3 laps to go. Drove it, and wow, results have changed. Burkhardt was just dropped. Burkhardt down to 15th.
Oh, man. He must have had a penalty somewhere, I would think, huh?
That's exactly what that would have been.
Wow. We didn't see it, but oh, my goodness. Well, we were just singing his praises, and ends up he's going to lose a ton of points. Dibdall gets dropped all the way to 17th as well. So
Let's
that
see what
may
we
have
can
been
find.
parcel of it here.
You're right, Dibdall falling way, way back in the results. Quickly, we're going to try and get the turn 1 mayhem. I know I said we do results and then replay. I completely, you know what? This has been so dramatic. I completely lost that train of thought. But let's watch turn 1 here. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. This is crazy. And you watch here, you see that really sudden move by Rice-Budo, and you can see Roland tries to go with him. They're both snaking there. And at this point, looks like this might work. And Celine pops to the outside.
Right there.
Now watch what Celine does to Beans as they come out of this turn here. Right about there. He just hammers Beans, and it just launches Beans clear of everybody and gives him enough to be able to turn in.
And then somewhere along the line, it's the bus stop, realistically. The 23 car catches some grass. And we'll watch this all play out and watch for that in the bus stop. But this is everything leading to that moment. I mean, you've got Roland right on the back end of Rick Segrini, trying to set up for everything here down to the West Horseshoe. Moving around was Roland. Has the inside line look, but can't quite get there. Backs up to Rice-Budo, all while Forster runs wide in the West Horseshoe and gives the race lead right back to the 108. Was that by design or by mistake?
That's a tough call, because that line is a really quick line, and we talked about it. You know, when you drive a fast line, sometimes it's not the best racing line, and I wonder maybe Beans thought he had a little bit more of a margin and was just trying to accelerate out and keep his exit speed up, and Rick Segrini just covered it. But the guy who's just been in hunt mode here is Celine Roland. I mean, he was high, low, all the way through that exchange. And it doesn't stop now. As you can see behind there, you can see Rice-Budo and Trace Hance and Dibdall in their own little scrap. But here we go into the bus stop. Let's see what happens here once again.
Yeah, so watch the 23 of Beans Forster. He's going to cut the corner somewhere through this exchange, and I think it's here. Yeah, right there on exit. He had 2 wheels in the grass. That is a corner cut. That is just over the edge, and that gives the edge to suddenly to Celine Roland. Watch him drop down the banking. And you mentioned catbird seat potentially. He almost was, and then Rick Segrini had something to say about it.
Yeah, Rick Segrini just tucked right in behind him. And there you see Dibdall drop low, trying to get around Beans, who's still trying to recover his momentum. Trace Hance goes high. Rice-Budo right there in that little bit of a squeeze play. And you can see the contact. Dibdall, what a save by Dibdall. That was superb.
Fantastic driving out of all of these top 6 drivers. You see the contact bottom of your screen. Celine Roland and Jordan Rick Segrini. A little bit of contact. I'm not sure I can pin that on either driver. They're trying to race for the win at Daytona, of all places. But Celine Roland ends up sliding around and giving up the race win as Trace Hance comes in. Great job from Hance, and yeah, he was full up in the air across the line and crashing to take the 3rd position. I will take one more look at it, then get results, but I don't think I can blame either driver.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was just really it was just side by side, close battling. And, the thing is, those double yellow lines, when you're straddling them, you got a tire near it. It's a transition. That's what it's marking. And you get down on that, and then the car starts to just wiggle. And there you can see down low goes Rick Segrini, and as Roland tried to save it, he just touched that line, and around it went, and then there's all the carnage. Ooh.
That was Dibdall.
That was Dibdall who clocked him.
Well, when it's all said and done, That is one heck of a way to finish Daytona.
Yes, it is. Just like the NASCAR guys do all too often. So incredible stuff. And got to give a shout out here to Court Schmidt. Through all of that, kept himself clean, ends up 6th. Wozencroft, one of his best finishes, just some really stellar driving, up into 7th. Christian Rice Puto in 8th. Olivier Piatek and Skip Rock Jr., who both had up and down events, end up into that top 10. But, you think about where Celine Roland started and where he finished, that to me, drive of the race, drive of the event.
I don't disagree. Results on the bottom of your screen, they're going to tick on by, so watch for your favorite driver. But we've got some drivers who've been patiently waiting to talk to us as we just went back and watched all of what happened on that last lap. Are you ready to talk to these guys?
You bet. Let's do it.
All right, first up, we're going to bring you the race winner. I'm sure Rick Segrini has a whole lot to say.
I would sure think so. Jordan, congratulations on that win. And I said at the top of the show, driving here at Daytona, some people might say it's cool, others might say it's insane. I'm guessing you'd vote for the latter after that race.
Oh yeah, definitely that one.
That was just absolutely crazy. First of all, what from your position, what do you think happened there with you and Celine Wright coming to the line?
I went to go right, and it seemed like the first move was you're allowed a defensive maneuver, but not in respect to a move by the driver trying to pass, and he went right trying to block, and so then I went back down to the left, and I was trying to leave room, and we were just going for a win. Me and Celine, he was actually my coach when I went to race school to get my real racing license, so we go way back. We're good friends. There was no hard feelings after race, and we raced for the same owners for the pro teams in real life, so no hard feelings there for sure.
Well, it was just great side-by-side action, and it looked like when you made that move to the left after he covered you, and you get down to those double yellow lines where that transition is, your car gave a little bit of a wobble, and it looked like his did too, and then that's where you guys tapped.
Yeah, I don't think anything that happened coming to the line was anything intentional. We definitely weren't trying to wreck each other, so
for sure,
it was definitely a fun battle out there. I know he had a great drive coming from deep in the pack with Bryce Puto, so
yeah, I mean, he was way back, so I mean, just a superb run. You've got to be pleased with this, considering obviously that you came in 5th in the points, and you're going to make up a little bit of ground here because some of the competitors you have are a bit farther back in the points.
Yes, definitely a big night for that. Unfortunately, I won't be here. I'm going to try and find a sim up at the runoffs to use to maybe do next week. And then the week after that, I'll be in Indy with Toyota. I'm going down there this week. I leave tomorrow for Sebring. So I'll be 3 weeks on the road racing in real life. So it'll be give or take with what I get to do on the sim. So hopefully I can make something work.
Well, we hope so too. But if you can't, boy, did you hit the pause button with one hell of a race here and a big win. And in your mind, at the top of the show, I said this is maybe the definitive high-speed game of chess. With the draft, it's not just where you want to be, but when. Best possible opportunity. Coming out of the bus stop, do you want to be leading, second, third?
Probably third or fourth. Me and Rice Puto were timing it, and there's definitely a certain time gap that you want to be back to the leader in order to slingshot the right way. Yep. It was kind of funny. Going into that final lap, they let me by, and I was in the lead for the last 2 laps. And then going down to turn 1, I kind of went wide, and Beans got under me. And then in the infield, he kind of brushed wide, so nobody really wanted to take the lead on that last lap. But it ended up, Beans unfortunately got to slow down, and I had timed the bus stop pretty good. Celine got under me, and I knew the double toe here in these cars with the open top is pretty crazy compared to just the single car push. And so I had a good feeling. I didn't think I was out of it by any means at all. That's going down to the bus stop. I let Celine was under me, and we were side by side. And I just let him go. I didn't try and race him for it. And unfortunately for Beans, he got that. But I still felt like I was in a pretty good spot. It could have been anyone run to the line there. There definitely is a golden number that you're trying to shoot for that me and Rice Puto have found, and just doing testing, trying to see how far back versus how close you have to be leaving the bus stop.
Well, you drove it, brilliantly, and obviously, you never know what's going to happen in racing, but you were in a great spot to capitalize. Congratulations. We sure as hell hope that you do find a sim that you can continue racing with us, but if not, if you have to, hit the pause button for a bit, as I said, way to wrap it up here with a great win. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it.
You bet.
That's your race winner, Jordan Rick Segrini, and Celine Roland. I think one of the best drives you could possibly ask for from car number 87. We'll bring in driver. Well, we're going to bring in driver of the number 87. I don't see. You know what? I may not know all of these guys' Discord names, but I don't see Celine Roland in the waiting channel. But you know what? That gives us an opportunity to skip a couple of spots. How about Morgan Burkhardt? I feel like you have to follow up with the teammate of the guy who won the race, who won race number 1 as well, and had one hell of a drive into the top 5, nearly, not quite, 7th place until that penalty, Greg.
Yeah, it was an incredible comeback after the early off. Morgan, welcome back, obviously. Superb effort up with that great run in the first race. Bit more problematic for you in the second race, and it looked like you'd cracked and gotten well up into the top 10. And then that penalty was assessed, but man, you had your hands full.
Yeah, no, the first race was really fun. I didn't want to be any lower than 3rd, because then you have to really start fighting. Everybody from below 3rd is going to be trying to go to the front, so it's a really awkward spot to be in. So if you can stay in the top 3, you're usually going to be okay. And so it's just pretty much balancing that for the first race. But second race, actually, the first race, I was used to driving with a little bit of left rear wheel damage, so the car kind of pushed a lot more. And then going into the second race, the car was fine and suddenly had all this bite and went through the bus stop. Tried to kind of slow it down a lot on the entrance just to feel it out, and got a little bit too much of the rebels at like an awkward spot, I guess, and just hooked a lot in the middle. And unfortunately, Jordan really didn't have anywhere to go and got into the back of me. But no harm, no foul there. And then just kind of trying to pick people off, come back through the field. I think I was with the back of the lead train about halfway, but I went for a move around the outside of turn 1, and I think we just had a racing incident, and I got turned a little bit wide and fell back a few spots, and then had to kind of fight back. But yeah, just fighting instant points the whole time.
Obviously, you love to win and you love to have a close battle like you had and the like. But the interesting thing is, sometimes those runs from deep in the pack where you're just passing and passing and passing can be a lot of fun up until that penalty. Obviously, I would think you were enjoying this one, even though you didn't get up into that podium.
Oh, for sure. It's a lot of fun for me. I get to kind of practice my racecraft. How do I set up a pass so that I can not lose either of us anytime? Because especially at this track, it's so important to pass people smart so that you don't lose the draft of the next guy. Because a lot of the kind of mid pack where I was coming through was separated by a second and a half. So if you pass somebody and then you both lose time, then it's so much harder to get back to the next guy. So you have to do it real smart. Maybe not pass him into a corner, but try and pass him on the banking or on a straight, and make that pass real fast so that you can keep that gap to the next car pretty close.
Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to talk about with you is, we saw a number of drivers that were consistently driving the fast line through the International and the West Horseshoe, which isn't always the line you want to be running when you've got somebody racing right behind you. As you open the wheel, try and flow speed, and they can cut down underneath. That's the level of racecraft you have to really play this game of chess, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Especially here, there's 17 different lines that you can take. There, especially in turn 1, and like you said, both horseshoes. There's a fast line and then there's a race line. So if you look at qualifying laps versus the race laps, there's a very, very stark difference between the two, because especially here, because the draft is so powerful, you really have to understand that people will they'll just cut down off the exit of a corner, and then if somebody goes with them, you're going to get trained. So you have to play which train to kind of go in front of and play. It's a lot like NASCAR, actually, to play the momentum of different trains.
Absolutely. Well, win in the first race and not where you wanted to be in the second race. It's going to close those points up. So, hey, you're keeping it exciting for everybody for the rest of the season. And as usual, just a treat to watch you drive.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Morgan Burkhardt with a really solid run, just not where he wanted to be when it's all said and done. How about Beans Forster, though? Also, arguably one of the better drives in the race if it just didn't come down to that slowdown.
Yeah, that was a real shame. And, Beans, obviously, we went back and looked at it, and you just got such a run into the chicane. It looked like you just couldn't quite keep it on track through that last left back up onto the speedway.
Yeah, that was not the brightest move from me doing that. I kind of saw it coming, and I should have lifted, but you know how we are. We get greedy sometimes, and we just keep it in there. But yeah, that was definitely interesting. The entirety of the event.
Oh man, yeah, with the draft here and it all, everything that was going on, and you were usually right in the midst of it. In that last race, that I think it was starting the final lap. It sure looked to us like as you were coming through what would be turn 2, that Celine gave you a nice bump and just kind of kicked you right in front of Rick Sangrini.
Oh yeah. So when I was sitting behind Jordan coming out of 6 going into the bus stop, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, do I sit behind Jordan or do I try and go for a pass? And I'm just trying to think about who's behind me and what are they going to do? And I was like, oh, it's Celine. He's going to go for the bump 100%. And so I just pulled out to the left and sure enough, boom, there it goes. Got the big bump. And then I kind of threw it away at the end. But I think that would have been a sweet move if I was able to pull it off the way I really wanted to.
Oh, it absolutely would, no question. And a couple of times in this race, it looked like when you were up front, you just sort of moved up high and let guys go through. Is that, you were trying to figure out, all right, if I'm running third or fourth, what is my game plan?
Yeah, so definitely going throughout the race, after most of the carnages happened and as kind of us that were up in the front, I really had to start thinking about where I wanted to be because I know I had a tiny bit of aero damage in the front and on the left side of my car. So it was going to affect me. And a lot of the times I kind of usually want to sit P3, maybe P4, depending on the gaps in the entire front pack. But I figured with the detriment to my aero that I had, my best bet was to sit in P2. Going into the bus stop and either pass on the exit or pass on the entry, hoping that the guys behind me can go too wide. So it was definitely a long thought out plan through the entire race.
Well, you have to do that here at Daytona. And as always, just great fun, great entertainment, and a great drive. Sorry about that little cut, but you had, driven, brilliantly. So, hey, thanks so much as always.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for putting on such a good show.
Thanks.
Beans Forster, a really solid run in race number 2, and he was good all night long. I think he was one of the most consistent drivers. He and Rick Sangrini certainly have the highest point totals out of this evening from the 2 races. Really interesting to watch how different drivers were strong in different races. Really, they ended up running when it was all said and done. Of course, Morgan Burkhardt is kind of an asterisk on the day. Easily could have won race number 2, but ends up down there in 15th, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was, pretty fascinating. And, you think about, like Nicholas Rice-Puto, he had that monster wreck in that first race, came back with a good drive. I really wish we'd had a chance to talk to Celine and or Trace because they both had fabulous runs. And I wanted to know how Trace threaded that needle down that backstretch at one point. And a big shout out again to Court Schmidt for a great 6th place finish, just keeping his nose really, really clean out there. So with that, I think we're going to wrap our coverage up here from Daytona. But as I said, that was just starting the second half of this now elongated season, going from 8 to 10 races, but including 2 drops. So we do want to remind everybody that next Tuesday night, we will be running at Lime Rock Park from a 3.56-mile super speedway and a high-speed roval to the 1.5-mile bull ring. And I'm sure we're going to have a sizable entry. That should be absolute insanity of a completely different type, Andrew.
I love that in the road racing world, Lime Rock Park is a bull ring. I'm more of an oval guy, so I'm used to quarter miles. I'm used to even fifth miles with legend cars and karts sometimes. To think of a 1.5-mile track road course that goes all over the hillsides there in Connecticut as a bull ring, that's such a weird concept to me, but it's absolutely right. Every time we unload at Lime Rock Park, no matter what kind of cars we bring, it is absolutely one of those bull ring races. You expect a lot of contact, just like here at Daytona, just in a completely different light. And certainly, these Spec Miatas are going to have a lot of fun next week, next race out. That is going to be a very, very special race on the calendar.
I think so too. I think it's going to be just phenomenal. So everybody, make sure you join us again next Tuesday night. And remember, on the 28th, we have the driver's school for Watkins Glen and the Cup course that will be running the weekend or the week after Lime Rock Park. So all that's unfolding. As always, a huge thank you to Full Send Sims for their not only support of this championship, but the creation of this championship. To 3P Logistics and to Final Turn Motorsports for their great support. To all of the competitors that come out. I mean, a huge field again here of well over 30 cars. And to everybody tuning in on YouTube, man, we just love being able to bring this to you. For Andrew, for Finian, for Kyle, I'm Greg Creamer. Every one of them plays a pivotal role in bringing this to you at the level that it's brought to you. And a big shout out and thanks to all of them. We look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday night from Lime Rock Park. Until then, take care, everybody.